At one point or another, everyone will experience something that will change their lives forever. For some people, it's their wedding day or the birth of their child. For me, that day is August 9th, 2019. That is the day that Dora, the Lost City of Gold, was released in theaters.
Just jump into this, guys.
Me and my friend went and watched Dora Welcome to the Jungle on opening night because we knew it would be something special. Whether that was a good special or a bad special is still up for interpretation. Dora was always a favorite in my household. Not only was the show entertaining, it, along with Nihao Kailan, introduced me to other languages and cultures. But Dora did something Kailan didn't. She taught me the magic of exploration and immortality. Also, the interconnectivity of Dora and Diego was definitely a precursor to the MCU. So, let's look at the adaptation of such an influential icon.
Why you bully me?
Dora Drake's fortune makes a very interesting decision, and that during the first scene of the movie, it completely erases the TV show from the canon of the Dora universe, making all the adventures, talking animals, and sentient backpacks all part of Dora and Diego's imagination. I could understand wanting to make a more grounded approach on the character without the big blue cow or whatever this is supposed to be. But if you're going to say that all these things are just figments of Dora's imagination, then maybe don't put them in the movie later as real things and make Dora act like she's never seen them before. This not knowing how to deal with the wackiness of the Dora cartoon is present all throughout
Dora the Last Crusade.
It seems like half the writers wanted to make a Brady Bunch movie as a parody of Dora, to the point where they have a scene where a character has a psychedelic mushroom trip where they see themselves, the other characters, and wacky animal friends in the style of the animated counterpart. But at the same time, they wanted a SpongeBob SquarePants movie type film where it was just a feature-length version of what could have been a regular episode. Of course, since it tries to be both, it doesn't really reach the heights of either. Dora Rise of the Tomb Raider has a very generic plot. Here's a summary.
All right, an adventure. Yeah.
Come on, Dora! All right! Let's go! Dora, Dora, the Explorer!
Hi, my name's Katrina.
And my name is Hugh.
I'm Sarah. I'm Emma.
And I'm Joan to you.
The characters in Dora Parabellum are what you could expect from this kind of movie. They each fulfill their roles as stereotypical kids movie characters. You got your teacher's pet and your gamer. The double agent villain that spends time with the protagonist only to betray them at the end for the treasure is here too. Only they did some unexpected foreshadowing in that after a near-death experience, the twist villain actually admits to being a bad guy. But everyone is shaken up and trying to calm down, so they're too busy to pay attention to what he's actually saying. That's really the only memorable character moment I can think of. I would like to mention, however, that the smart girl that Diego ends up with is probably the worst part of the movie. She's annoying, unlikable, and not very well written or acted. I'm writing this script a few hours after watching the movie, and I already forgot the names of everyone who isn't Dora or Diego.
Hey, I know! I'll use my trusty frying pan as a drying pan!
If you look at the IMDb page for Dora the Desolation of Smog, you'll see that it's labeled as an adventure family movie. A notable omission from that is comedy, and there's a reason. Only a few jokes in this movie actually land. The problem is that most of the jokes, whether or not they're funny, drag on for way too long. There's an actual scene where they're standing in a pit of mud, and when they walk, it makes a fart noise. They stand there for 1 to 2 minutes, just repeatedly making fart noises. They do this over and over, and the characters are just laughing hysterically like it's the funniest thing in the world. Also, Dora is portrayed as a jungle expert and knows what every plant and animal can do and whether or not it can harm humans, while at the same time she's made to act like a child that never grew up or matured and even eats a 10-year-old candy bar that is covered in mold. Wouldn't she know not to eat that?
Ocarina of Time is an action-adventure game featuring all of your favorite Mario characters.
The most distracting thing about Dora Infinity War is the inconsistency in the quality of the CGI. Most CGI used for backgrounds look fine, but the CGI used for animals is really hit or miss. I will admit that I've been a bit spoiled by the absolutely incredible CGI in movies like the MCU and other things like that, but whenever comparing two movies with drastically different budgets, it's easy to tell a difference. Nevertheless, whenever a human character interacts with a CGI animal, it seems a little more than a bit off, and at some points it looks like an animator just had trouble getting boots to convey certain emotions. For example, There's a scene where Dora and Boots are in an intense situation, and Boots decides to talk to Dora to help her. At this point in the movie, Dora hadn't heard Boots talk yet, and this was supposed to be a very dramatic moment. So, while Isabella Moner is doing, in my opinion, the best portrayal of someone who just heard the voice of Danny Trejo come out of a monkey, Boots looks like he's having more flashbacks.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night.
Well, I guess you just have to be prepared to die.
So, my final verdict of Dora Battle Royale. The characters are predictable at best and unlikable at worst. The jokes don't reach their potential more often than not, and it just doesn't really know what it wants to be. So yeah, I liked it. What did you expect? It's a kids' movie. If you go into it with realistic expectations, then you'll have a good time. It's not thematically deep, expertly choreographed, or an artistic masterpiece. It's a dumb, fun kids' movie that's as good as it has to be. Not saying that all kids' movies have to be dumb, meaningless, or follow any formula. You can just look at kids' films like the Lego Movie, Into the Spider-Verse, or Coraline to see that's absolutely not the case. But sometimes a dumb, meaningless movie can work.